Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show. We have some positive news coming in today. Reports that Manchester United have decided to make a move out of nowhere. Well, not nowhere. We've been scouting him, we've been watching him, but it looked like he was set to move to Roma. There is news coming out that Manchester United made their move for Richard Rios, have got off their arse, have actually done something. Are they working on a deal that's not Mbeumo? This is reports coming out from Italy, a couple of reports coming out from Italy suggesting that obviously while it's believed Richard Rios is close to joining Roma offered 22 million, Palmeiras want 26 million, and Manchester United are making their move. And it could just be another one of those BS stories that we are fed. But I wanted to cover it because it's finally some positivity and it's finally something that I hope we are doing. But Italian media are putting this out. Is this being put out to push Roma into getting the deal done because Roma are underpaid a little bit? Is Manchester United being used by Rios' agent to get more interest? That's something we experience a lot with South American people. We will talk about that. News that the third Mbeumo bid is set to come in the coming days. Things are on track. Things are expected to advance. It's expected to be done within the next week. I know that we were told that a couple of weeks ago and that didn't happen, and it's frustrating. Reports now coming out, and this was a journalist that broke the Lenny Yoro news. The journalist that broke the Lenny Yoro news a couple of hours before everyone else is suggesting that Manchester United have interest in Nicolas Jackson. He will be leaving Chelsea. Well, not leaving Chelsea, but Chelsea are open to letting him go. Chelsea are open to selling Nicolas Jackson. And of course, he gets linked to Manchester United. Now, look, this is a case of a team is selling their striker. Man United need a striker. Is it basic journalism linking Man United to the striker? Or do we have interest? Because to be honest, I think United probably would look at Nicolas Jackson and look at the price. Something tells me we're going to go for Ollie Watkins. Something tells me we're going to go for Ollie Watkins and end up with Ollie Watkins, depending on sales. But Nicolas Jackson could be one to watch, particularly with Chelsea's interest in Garnacho as well. And we've got further updates coming out on Marcus Rashford's exit. And of course, after Mbeumo, we need exits. We can talk about Watkins, we can talk about Jackson, but after Mbeumo, if we don't sell anyone, we can't afford a striker. That is the truth. So we will talk about the latest on Rashford because Sky Sports are now getting on the Rashford news. Man United are expecting Barcelona to make their move. There could be some advancements there in regards to Rashford as well. But I want to start by talking about Richard Rios. I'm hoping it's not just another nonsense story from Italian media where they're using Manchester United for clicks, because we still haven't got Romano or Ornstein on it. And it's a little bit annoying because we get all these news stories from Italian media. And Italian media do actually have some genuinely good journalists. There was time where we got a load of news stories from Italian media saying we're interested in Amrabat. And I was like, no, they're just making it up. Like, we're not going to go for Amrabat, we're just being used. And actually the Italian media was correct. We were in for Amrabat. And there's, with the Hoyland news, Italian media was saying this and that, and actually it was true. There is some good Italian media out there, but sometimes you're just like, we've been told for weeks that Sancho's close, but actually Romano said, nah, it's not that close, and Juventus are willing to take their time. It's one of those Italian media. So it's one of those where I want to believe the Richard Rios story. I want to just believe any story I read that's positive because we've had so much negativity. But we are going to talk about it. And look, I apologise if there is any lag. I'm on holiday. You know what holiday Wi-Fi is like. It can not always be the best. So I do apologise for that. But yes, the main report coming out is that Manchester United have made their move for Richard Rios in the last few hours. Roma have offered 22 million, but Palmeiras want 26 million. There's suggestions that Manchester United have made a move, and by made a move, that means make a bid, I assume. How can you make a move and not make a bid? So Roma have offered 22 million. There's now suggestions, coming out of Italy that United have made an offer, and Palmeiras wants 26 million. So is this a case of Roma not bidding enough? Let's use Man United because we know Man United need a midfielder in under 30 million range. We know Man United want a midfielder. We know we need to sign a midfielder, but we know our midfield budget is very 20 to 30 million range. Richard Rios is in that range. We know we were scouting him. Ben Jacobs and other credible sources have said we were scouting him during the Club World Cup. We have an active interest in Richard Rios. Are Manchester United being used to push Roma? The thing that confuses me is normally when it's an Italian club trying to sell a player, they link Man United to the player to help sell that player. When it's an Italian club trying to buy a player, we don't often get linked to that player by Italian media because Italian media is the Italian side of things. Gazzetta is Roma's side of things, not Palmeiras' side of things. It's coming out on the Italian side of things that United have made their move, blah, 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 blah. That's coming out on the Italian side of things, which means it's not coming out from Palmeiras, who, let's be honest, if you were going to make up a story that United were making a move for Richard Rios, it would come out from the Palmeiras side of it as a negotiation tactic to get more out of Roma, which means one of two things. Either one, Gazzetta have some genuine information and Manchester United are making a move for Richard Rios. We do know that we have genuine interest in him, but Manchester United having genuine interest in a player and making a move for a player are two different things. We do know that United like the player, we do know that we scouted him. So this could be one, they've got genuine information, we are making a move for Rios because Padella is a good source of information, has constantly linked us to Richard Rios and said it is one to watch. Or it could be a case of Richard Rios' agent is feeding more BS to Italian media to hurry up Roma. It's very common for players in South America to use Manchester United to facilitate them move elsewhere because United gets attention and clicks. It could be one of those two scenarios. I think it's either driven by Rios' agent to worry and hurry up Roma, but I don't think it's driven by Palmeiras, which makes it less likely to be United being used to get that move to Roma. I think the Jassari links was us being used to get Jassari to Milan, get a better bid out of Milan. I think recent links in the past have been to help out other players. So there could be something in it. And as I said from Padella, he's saying that we do have a serious interest in Richard Rios. It would be one to watch. Now, look, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. We have to wait until Ornstein and Romano get on this kind of news because it feels like nothing is happening. And then every time we get a news story to suggest something is happening and we start to get excited and being like, okay, guys, this could be happening, that could be happening. We then get told by Romano, no, I haven't heard anything. It feels like United aren't moving at all. Surely United have been doing something these last 3 weeks. Surely United have been doing something these last 3 weeks. And maybe this is what we've been doing. This is the hope. He's in the budget for a centre mid. It would be a good centre mid. I liked what I saw in the Club World Cup. I think it is a good player. It'll be interesting to see if it is a centre mid. And it'd be interesting to see if we do sign a centre mid. We need a centre mid. He's in the budget range. He looks like a good centre mid. It'll be interesting to see how this develops. It would be great if we're in for Rios, but I just don't trust Man United to be doing anything. Part of me says surely we can't have just sat here for 3 weeks and done nothing. Maybe we're doing stuff and the media doesn't know much about it, and maybe loads is going to come out on Rios today. Maybe loads is going to come out on Rios tomorrow. But it's just. It's draining. Now, in regards to Richard Rios, he's a player that we've been linked to last summer. It's a player that we've had a long-standing active interest in, reportedly, Richard Rios. He's 24 years of age. He's a good midfielder. He played for Brazil, Colombian, actually. Is he Colombian or Brazilian? I feel like he's Colombian. Richard Rios. I feel like he plays for Colombia. He plays for Colombia. I was about to say Brazilian, but he plays for Colombia, but he plays in Brazil. He has 21 caps for Colombia, I believe. He was very good at the World Cup, stood up at the Copa America as well, had very good international tournaments. He's known for having a good Club World Cup tournament. He's been impressive in those games. He's a good box-to-box player with a good win rate. And he looks like a good player. He looks technically good. He looks physically good. We need a midfielder, and he's in the price range. But as I said, we got linked to Jassari. Not much is advanced there. We've been linked to Javi as well, and there wasn't much links there, So for me, I don't know. I don't know what to believe anymore, to be honest. I want to believe it. I want to get excited. We finally got some positive news, and we haven't had positive news in a while that we're going to be making a move for Richard Rios. So I pretty much assume this means a new bid. Made a move is an offer, right? Made a move is a bid, right? So maybe we have made this bid for Rios. Maybe we have made this move for Rios, and I would like Richard Rios at Man United, but it's hard to get excited. It takes 3 weeks for United to confirm interest into talks and then another several weeks to see a fee agreed, because we're that slow. That's what it feels like. And it's like, surely we've been doing more than just that in the last few weeks. Something tells me he's going to end up at Roma. Something tells me we're going to end up at Roma. We're just being used. But look, I don't know. But he's a good midfielder. I'd like it to happen. I want, when you just kind of want to believe it. You want to believe it. Let's see how this develops. Now, obviously, if we sign Mbeumo and Rios, we ain't going to be able to sign anyone else until some sales happen. And the sale that I thought would be the hardest and the sale that I thought was going to drag on to the deadline day might actually be the first sale we do in Marcus Rashford. Now, if you've been following my channel for the last few days, I've been giving multiple updates on Rashford, one from Mateo Moreta, that it basically got the green light. A lot of Spanish sources are now coming out and pretty much suggesting and confirming that Marcus Rashford is now Barcelona's priority target. They want Marcus Rashford, they're in for him. Suggestions that United will even accept a loan deal to facilitate the move, but the loan deal would have to have an obligation to buy, not an option to buy. There has been some big advancements in regards to Marcus Rashford's exit coming out from Manchester United sources and Spanish sources. And I'm going to say this now, when you get news from both sides, that's a good sign. With Sancho, all the news is coming out from the Italian side of things. Do you know what I mean? And nothing has happened for the last 3 weeks, despite the Italian side of things telling us it's close. With Richard Rios, again, all of it is coming out from the Italian side. Ben Jacobs was just saying there's an interest there. With Rashford, all this news came out from the Spanish side, which is Barcelona's side, that Barcelona are going to make the move, this and that. But Barcelona are loud. They're like Man United. They get a lot of nonsense media. But Mateo Moreta is good. It's now coming out from the English side. It's now coming out that Man United are briefing their sources. They expect Barcelona to come in. And Barcelona have briefed their sources they're making the move for Rashford. So when you get briefs from the English side and the Spanish side on a deal revolving Man United, that is good. Because we've been linked to a couple of players in Spain from random Spanish sources, and our sources have said nothing. None of the British sources said anything. So then you're like, okay, this is probably BS then, because if other sources don't pick up the story in 1 or 2 days, it's normally BS. But this is reports coming out of Spain, heavy on Rashford and Barcelona, that are now being picked up by our sources, meaning Manchester United are briefing that, yes, this is true, Barcelona are expected to make an approach for Rashford. Things are ongoing. We've obviously got Sky Sports coming out and putting out some information on that. And again, I do apologise if there's any lag here, but we've obviously got some information from that. Rios is a good baller. I love him for sure. Look, I've not seen a lot of Richard Rios. I could count the amount of games I've watched Richard Rios play on my hands, but I like what I see. Marcus Rashford, another player I like, another player we have to sell though. It was said by Sky Sports that Manchester United are expecting an approach from Barcelona for Rashford. So this is coming out from United-based sources. So all this news and all this information in the last few days that, Marcus Rashford, I'm getting them too confused now. All the information that's come out in the last few days in regards to Marcus Rashford to Barcelona that's come out from Spain, that's saying that Spain are advancing, saying green light, saying Barcelona are ready to make their move, saying Barcelona are advancing, Barcelona green light. All of this kind of news that's come out in the last few days, as I said earlier, looks like it's kind of, being confirmed, because now it's being reported that Manchester United are expecting an approach from Barcelona for Rashford. They're working hard behind the scenes for a deal for him. And Barcelona have explored the conditions of a deal, but the big word is yet to make official contact with United. But United are now expecting an approach. Marcus Rashford to Barcelona has been ongoing for weeks and weeks and weeks in this transfer window. And it sort of felt like it wasn't going to happen. Like 2 weeks ago, I felt that Marcus Rashford needs to cut his luck. He needs to stop begging for Barcelona because they're going for Nico Williams, and I don't think it's going to happen, and he should be open to buying. 2 weeks ago, I was saying I know his dream is Barcelona, but he needs to be open to other clubs. He's taking a risk here. And that risk that Marcus Rashford's taking may have paid off, because Barcelona all of a sudden cannot sign Nico Williams. Barcelona want Luis Diaz, but it's a very difficult deal to do. Liverpool do not want to sell. Liverpool want to keep the player. Bayern Munich also have interest there, and they would have competition from Bayern Munich. So Barcelona have now turned full attention to Marcus Rashford, which is also the most feasible deal. And they also like the fact that he could play left wing and striker, so he adds a bit of cover for Rafinha, but could also play up top at striker. All of a sudden, Barcelona are now expected to make a move for Rashford. We've had 3 months of Barcelona Rashford links. We've had the last month of Barcelona have interest, but who knows if they'll make a move? Who knows if they'll make a move? So actually finally looking like we're going to get the breakthrough with Rashford, and Barcelona are going to make the move. I think now Nico Williams is off. That was the big thing. Last week when it was confirmed Nico Williams was off, that was a massive thing, because if they got Nico Williams, they would have only done this deal on loan. Now Diaz is a difficult deal to do. I think Barcelona are working on Marcus Rashford, and I feel like this could happen before Sancho, Antony, and Garnacho's futures are resolved. Now, what I'm hoping is that it's permanent. I'm hoping it's a permanent and we get 40 million now. Now, Manchester United have made it clear to Barcelona they want a permanent. Barcelona want a loan. This is the one problem we could have. Barcelona want to do this deal on loan. We want a permanent. However, Barcelona have showed they have money. Barcelona made, 55, 60 million bid for Nico Williams. What was his release clause? Is it like 57 million? What was Nico Williams' release clause? I feel like it was in the 50 million range. His new release clause is the 100 million euro range. Nico Williams' release clause, it's 58 million euros. So Barcelona showed that they triggered Nico Williams' release clause that was 58 million euros. So 58 euros in pounds is over 50 million pounds. So Barcelona triggered Nico Williams' release clause, which is just over 50 million pounds. and was willing to give him a high salary. Barcelona then don't get that deal done, don't sign a winger. They then go to Manchester United and say we can only afford a loan. Man United are going to say, well, one, Rashford is 40 million and you just triggered Nico Williams' 50 million release clause, so stop lying, you have the money. And two, Rashford's made it clear he's willing to literally cut his wages nearly in half to join your club, so he'd be on less than Nico Williams. So actually, the Marcus Rashford deal is a lot more feasible than the Nico Williams deal. So Man United will say to Barcelona, you can do a permanent deal. So Barcelona going for Nico Williams, triggering his release clause, and then the deal not happening is probably the best thing that could happen for Man United. Even though it delays this process, Barcelona can't come to us and play broke when they just made and triggered his 50 million release clause and can't say they can't afford Rashford for 40 million. Man United will say, well, you've got the money. So we're in a position now where I think it won't be a loan, because I always felt up until about a week ago that Marcus Rashford was going to go on loan to Barcelona and we were going to pay some of his wages and I was going to be peed off. I think right now we're going to get permanent. Now, I think it's either going to be a loan and they buy him permanently next summer and we just hope it isn't a Sancho situation where they pay to send him back, or we actually get the permanent. And the permanent is what I want. I think we're in a position where Rashford could very much be out the door. Now, some people don't believe this. Some people don't believe that Barcelona will be interested in Rashford. You know, nobody will want Rashford, and some people believe that nobody wants Rashford. Look, I think they would choose Diaz over Rashford if they could get Diaz. But I do think that they want Marcus Rashford, and I do believe they have interest in Rashford, because I know a lot of people are saying, you know, nobody wants Rashford, blah, 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 blah. I think there's interest in Marcus Rashford, because I don't think Marcus Rashford would sit there begging Barcelona for so long, turning down other clubs for Barcelona not to do anything. You know, some people say don't believe it. I think there's going to be some advancements in Rashford's exit. I strongly believe that Barcelona are interested in Rashford. I strongly believe there's going to be some advancements. I thought it was going to drag down to deadline day up until a week ago. I actually feel like something could happen here, because this also came out from Mateo Moreta, who's good on the Barcelona side of things. So anyway, enough of Rashford. You know, some people say they can't see him in a Barcelona shirt, not good enough. I can see him under Hansi Flick. He's a very Hansi Flick player. I can see him going to Barcelona. I can see Barcelona dragging it out and making it a loan deal and us getting no benefit out of it. I can see Barcelona doing that. But I can see him going to Barcelona. But a lot of people say it won't happen. He's not good enough for Barcelona. Barcelona don't want him. Barcelona do want him. They have interest in him. I just don't know how much they want him. They want him, but my fear with Barcelona is, do they actually want him now? Or do they want him because it's convenient and they reckon they can get him on loan and get him on the cheap? That's my question. I think they want him, but do they only want him because it's convenient and it could be cheap and they could get him on loan and he could run down? Like Marcus Rashford would be willing to reject every other club and drag it out to deadline day to go to Barcelona, even if it meant it was a loan deal. So Barcelona know that. They know how much he wants to come. It'll be interesting to see if Barcelona are really ready to actually get the deal done in the next week and actually just pay up, or if they only want it because it's convenient. That's what I think will be interesting to see. But yeah, we've also got some updates from Sky on Mbeumo. Look, I know how we all feel about Mbeumo. We keep getting these updates on Mbeumo. A deal is close for Mbeumo. An Mbeumo deal is advancing. Mbeumo bid this week. But I felt like for the last week and a half, we've had nothing on Mbeumo. For the last week and a half, we've had absolutely nothing, absolutely zilch on Mbeumo. And I do feel in this sort of last week, not last week, the last 2 days, Mbeumo's been heating up again. We've had a week and a half, almost 2 weeks of no news on Mbeumo, no credible updates, nothing happening, no movement for 2 weeks. But it's actually coming out from good sources. You know, we had MJ Critchley come out yesterday that there's an expectation United could make a bid and an offer for Mbeumo soon. We even have Romano doing the classic Romano, where he kind of repeats the same story he's been saying for a month again. But why Romano repeats the same story or retweets something from a month ago and says the same thing he's been saying for weeks again is often because Romano is reminding fans that there is movement ongoing. So some people get annoyed. They go, oh, Romano's just repeat himself for the 50th time on a Mbeumo. That's a nothing update. People get annoyed at Romano. But that's his way of reminding fans, you know, talks are ongoing, talks are remaining. So we've now got, obviously, The Athletics came out. Was it The Athletic? MJ Critchley works for? He's a good source of information. They came out and said, man, there's expectation that United are going to make a move from Mbeumo in the coming days. There's a feeling from credible sources now. And look, there was credible sources that told us 2.5 weeks ago. So credible sources told us 3 weeks ago that Mbeumo's medical was next week. And that did not happen. Okay, so yes, who do we trust? I know it feels like that. But we've now got credible sources coming out because the last 2 weeks has been nothing on Mbeumo. All of a sudden, in the last 48 hours, we've had some stories on Mbeumo, but the last 2 weeks has been nothing. After the talks of there being a medical, there was nothing for 2 weeks. We've now got sources coming out for the first time in a while in regards to Mbeumo, starting to say, United are expected to submit an approved offer for Mbeumo soon. It is thought the deal will come down to structure and conditions. United's last offer was not far away in terms of total fee. We're now starting to get some advancements there in regards to Mbeumo. Now, it feels like it's the longest saga ever. If Mbeumo hasn't signed by Wednesday, ... I mean, that's when we want him because we're about to go on pre-season tour. Who knows? But the media is suggesting they think it could be done within the next week. So let's see. My one thought process is, and this is like Brentford is so fed up. Brentford is so fed up that we made our second bid that's only like 2 million off. Okay. Our second bid is only apparently like 2 million off. We made that nearly 3 weeks ago and the deal is still ongoing. I feel like now, okay, and I might be wrong, because I've always felt that Brentford are in a position where they can hold out for 70 million, because Madueke is going for 50 million plus, Elanga's 55 million, Gittins is 55 million. I feel like Brentford are in a position where they can hold out for 70 million. But there's a part of me saying now, we bid is 62.5 million, and then if we wait 3 weeks to bid 65 million, will Brentford just be so fed up and accept that 65 million bid? Because I think they're well within their place to ask for 70 million. United aren't going to pay 70 million. We've bid a 62.5 million, which was very close to what they wanted. And we've waited 3 weeks since bidding 62.5 million to maybe only bid 65 million instead of 70 million. Do you think we could just have tired Brentford out so much that they'll accept that bid? I think that's the only positive I can think of is, or do you think Brentford wouldn't cave? Do you think they're going to ask for 70 million and let's say the next bid is 65 million? Do you think they'll get to the point where they're like, this has gone on for so long, we'll accept 65 million? Because there's suggestions from some sources they will accept 65 million, some are saying they're holding out for 70. Do you think we would have just wound up Brentford so much they're like, you know what, we'll do that? Like, let me know. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what the next bid is. My throat is so dry. So dry. But United are expected to submit an approved offer for Mbeumo soon. It's for the deal will come down to structure and conditions. United's last offer was not far away in terms as well. Do that to everybody in the chat as well. How are we doing? Big up. I have a feeling Mbeumo will be done. I just don't know when. That's how I feel, mate. Thank you very much for the super chat, Mark. He says, I'm not even a United fan. From someone outside looking in, this is literally throwing anything at the wall and hoping it sticks. Where was the mega plan that Amran, Barada, Wilcox all promised? I mean, it was clearly Amran's training regime. Amran's given everyone a conditioning plan over the summer. That was the mega plan. Amran's conditioning plan he gave the players over the summer. But no, I'm only joking. I know what you mean. It's frustrating. We finished 15th. That was a disgrace. We're not acting like a team that finished 15th. We're not acting like a team that's finished 15th one bit. If you finish 15th, you've got to act. And I just feel with Amran coming in, we've brought in a manager that is so different to Ten Hag that we know we have to spend 300 million on. I thought the one thing with Amran is we could have got Amran in the summer. We decided to keep Ten Hag over going for Amran in the summer, just to then spend 20 million to sack Ten Hag and get Amran 3 months later and then not back Amran. So you're right, it feels like sometimes at United, they're just like, Amran did well at Sporting, we need to sack Ten Hag, Amran wants to come, he's the best manager available, it's November, let's bring Amran in. And as Dan Ashworth questioned, cool, there's one thing bringing Amran in, but you just spent over 200 million on Ten Hag. You're now bringing Amran in, and you're saying you've got no money to spend on him. When Amran plays, there's a reason why Liverpool went for Slot over Amran. Because Liverpool realised if they brought in Ruben Amrin, they just brought those 4 midfielders for Klopp the summer before, and they just brought these players. And Liverpool realised that if they go for Amrin, they're going to sort of have to tear up the squad. Whereas if they went for Slot, he played more similar to Klopp, and he could adapt Klopp's play style. With Man United, they brought in Amrin. You've got no money to spend, but you've brought in a manager you have to completely rip it all up for. If you had no money to spend, why didn't you bring in a manager that could have got the best out of Ten Hag's squad, rather than a manager that needs 300 million spent and has to do it his way? Like, that was my biggest concern. And Dan Ashworth raised that point, and he got sacked for it. But look, I tweeted this the other day, and I don't know what the signal was like because again, hotel Wi-Fi is questionable. But I said, guess who finished 15th and had the worst season in their modern history? Like Liverpool, Arsenal, and you can add Gyökeres and Mosquera to Arsenal very soon. Okay, City, and you could add Naipan to City, yeah. Chelsea, yeah. Tottenham, Man United. Like who finished 15th? Like looking at that, you'd have thought Liverpool finished 15th. Looking at that and looking at what's been done this summer, and obviously Liverpool have the money because they didn't spend last summer when they won the league and they made a shit ton of money in the Champions League, of course. So we don't have the money. But if you'd looked at that and you didn't know anything about football and you were told one of these teams had a really bad season and finished 15th, you wouldn't think it was Man United. You wouldn't think it was Man United with the way they've been acting. And that's the worrying truth. That's the worrying truth when you look at that. Yes, going back to Mbeumo, because we did get an update from Romano on Mbeumo. I think these Romano updates, which feel like nothing updates, are just Romano trying to remind the fans that are freaking out saying Mbeumo's off, we've effed it, that it's not off. Like, people will give Romano a lot of hate. The thing about David Ornstein is he puts out news when it's there, when it's done, and he'll stay silent for weeks. And then he'll put out news when it's relevant, when there's a relevant update. Romano will talk about news every day, and sometimes he'll be repeating himself for a week. And people get annoyed at Romano for that. Just stop saying the same thing, stop saying the same thing. And I feel sorry that Romano gets a lot of hate for that, because it's like, this is the same people that bombarding Romano and Mbeumo update, and Mbeumo update, and Mbeumo update. So Romano gives the Mbeumo update, which is the exact same news he's been given for a week, and people get annoyed about it, but it's not Romano's fault that there's nothing to say. He's just reminding you, this is the situation. Like, Romano coming out with his updates, it's just saying the deal is still on. You know, Romano, if the deal was off, Romano would come out and be like, the deal is off. I feel like because people are like, oh, the deal is off, we've effed it, we're not getting it, and people are panicking, we're not getting Mbeumo. I feel like Romano just gives these updates to remind people we can still get Mbeumo. But he is saying we are in talks for Mbeumo still. Also, this weekend, we want to get the green light by the end of next week. Romano is now coming out and saying United want to get this deal done by the end of next week. We came out with what MJ Critchley had said yesterday and said that United want to get Mbeumo done in the coming week and all that as well. I mean, he's repeated the same Mbeumo story 20 times, but this is the first time he said that we actually want to get the deal wrapped up within the next week and we want to get the green light. So maybe there's some advancements. Maybe there actually is a plan to get Mbeumo done. It feels like there finally could be a plan to get Mbeumo done within the next week. Is the only positive there. Should we get into the Jackson news? A lot of people don't like the Nicolas Jackson links. This has come out from the same journalist that said that Lenny Yoro was open to Man United, who everyone didn't believe at first. Then 2 hours later, it was confirmed that Lenny Yoro was open to Man United. So I don't know how good this source of information is, but he did get the Lenny Yoro information correct last summer. He was the first guy to actually say that Lenny Yoro would be open to Man United, and we all thought BS because we all thought Lenny Yoro was just going to go to Madrid and we had no chance. And then it got confirmed by reliable journalists a couple hours later. He is saying that we've now inquired about Nicolas Jackson. He did say, I think, Napoli and Villa had also inquired about him, so not just us. And Villa, and this is interesting because I still think United are going to make a move for Watkins. I just have a feeling we are. But Villa have inquired about Samu at Porto, and they've now reportedly inquired about Nicolas Jackson, which is a suggestion, could Watkins be on the way out? Do you know what I mean? But the door is open for him to leave Chelsea, and then you see 60 million, you think, damn. So there is talk of Manchester United inquiring about Nicolas Jackson. Doesn't surprise me. I mean, the thing is, the minute a striker is on the market, yeah, you know he's going to be linked to Man United because everybody under the sun knows we need a striker. And I feel like the minute a striker's on the market, he's going to be linked to Man United, hence Calvert-Lewin. Like, the minute a club is looking to sell their striker in the Premier League, you know he's going to be linked to Man United. Does that mean United are going to go for him? Not necessarily. Do I think we could go for Jackson? Yes. Do I think he's a £60 million striker? Absolutely not. Am I worried about it? Not yet. Again, after Mbeumo, we have to sell to buy a striker. So for me, we're not going to be signing a striker until August. And in August, we might have a clearer idea after sales, assuming sales happen. How do I feel about Nicolas Jackson? He's an improvement on Højlund, because Højlund got 4 goals last season. But he's not who I'd sign, especially for 60 million. I wouldn't sign him for 50 million. I wouldn't want him for 40 million. I want Watkins. not Nicolas Jackson. Do I think Nicolas Jackson is as bad as people make out online? No. I think Nicolas Jackson is very overhated. I thought Nicolas Jackson, if you watched Nicolas Jackson the first half of last season, he was very good. Nicolas Jackson, I mean, let me find his stats. Nicolas Jackson's been crap the last 6 months, and we don't need a player that's been recently crap. But Nicolas Jackson started the Premier League season very well. I don't want him at Man United. I'm not saying get him at Man United. I do think he's overhated. I do think he's better than he gets credit for. But if we look at Nicolas Jackson, yeah, at the start of the season, he got 13 goals and 6 assists last season in 2,500 minutes. He picked up an injury. But if you look at the beginning of the Premier League, he got in the second Premier League game, he got 1 goal, 1 assist. In the third Premier League game, he got a goal. In the fifth Premier League game, he got 2 goals and an assist versus West Ham. In game week 8, he got a goal. In game week 9, he got a goal. In game week 12 and 13, he got a goal. In game week 16, he got a goal. And then it sort of dried up in 2025. But in the first 16 matches, Nicolas Jackson got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 goals. He got 9 goals and 4 assists in the first 16 matches, and then he just became crap. Now, I don't want Nicolas Jackson. I think, there's a reason Chelsea want to get rid of him, and when Chelsea want to get rid of a player, I don't want Man United to buy them, particularly for £60 million. It would be an absolute joke. And look, no to Jackson, I would not want him. But I'm going to say this. I don't want him, but I don't think he's as bad as people think. But look, no to Jackson. I agree, I don't want Nicolas Jackson, but I actually think he's better than he gets credit for. I'm going to say that now. But yes, I would not be bringing in Nicolas Jackson. For me, if Nicolas Jackson is 60 million and Ollie Watkins is 50 million, I don't care that Nicolas Jackson is 5 years younger. You go for Ollie Watkins. Especially because there are question marks around Nicolas Jackson and his personality and his mentality. He's got 2 red cards for Chelsea recently. We're trying to clear the dressing room of a certain type of player. And I worry that again, and I do think that Nicolas Jackson is a little bit overhated and a little bit stereotyped, but with his recent red cards, there's that question. But then people say the same about Cunha, but he's been acting out for Chelsea with the red cards. I feel like because his form is off, he doesn't know how to deal with it. I think that's the way, because he was so good for Chelsea. He got injured, he struggled a bit, and then I felt like he saw João Pedro come in, first start for Chelsea, was balling it out. And then when Nicolas Jackson came on the pitch, he was trying so hard to score a goal that actually he could have played a pass to Palmer and Palmer could have scored. That I feel like Nicolas Jackson's now overthinking it. I don't know about the mentality. I think he's not responding well to pressure. But look, it could be BS. Thank you very much for the super chat again to Mark Neighbour. He says, as a business, and it is a business, Jackson has a higher ceiling compared to Watkins, who's 30 in 4 months' time. Probably mega wages with Ollie. It's repeating old bad habits with Ollie. I disagree, but I do think that Jackson's ceiling is quite high, and I do think Jackson is a better striker than he gets credit for. Nicolas Jackson's the kind of guy that I think could go to Italy and have a really good career. Do you know how Lukaku hasn't quite done it at United or Chelsea, but is really good in Italy? Nicolas Jackson's the kind of striker that I think could go to Italy and be one of the best Serie A strikers and be fantastic. I think he would come to us and improve us. I think he's a mass improvement on Højlund. I think Nicolas Jackson would level up this Man United side a little bit. I think he would. I think he would improve us. But he's not the guy we want a striker. I don't want Nicolas Jackson. I don't want to spend anywhere near 60 million on Nicolas Jackson. But he'd do a better job than Højlund leading the line that season. But he's not who I want. I think he's the type of player, struggling with his form at the end of the season. It's the kind of player we don't want. Anyway, but I think he could go to Italy and be good. I just don't know what it is. But he gives me that Darwin Núñez energy, where I feel like Darwin Núñez could be a really good striker, but not at a big club in the Premier League. But when we saw good signs of Darwin Núñez under Klopp, I feel like Nicolas Jackson reminds me of Darwin Núñez. Sometimes you watch them and they have a 3-4 month period where they look really good and they look like that guy and they look like that striker. And then other times they're poor and they're like, maybe they're a Serie A player. Now, one thing I could see happening in regards to Nicolas Jackson would be maybe Garnacho going the other way. Maybe that's a possibility. I wouldn't want that to happen, but maybe it is a possibility. Potentially Garnacho going the other way. Chelsea have just sold Madueke, basically, and they do have interest in a winger, and Garnacho is one of them. Alejandro Garnacho's plan remains clear. He wants to continue in the Premier League this summer. His chapter at Manchester United is closed, but he wants to stay in the Premier League, is being said. And that's been said by Romano. So this could be one to watch. Romano's just repeated the same thing he said for like a month, that Garnacho wants to stay in the Premier League. We already know that. But maybe Garnacho's agents rung out Romano and just said, can you put the story out, mate? Just to let everyone know he wants to stay in the Premier League. But with Chelsea now getting the money for Madueke, with Villa now into July past the PSR deadline where they can spend, maybe we could see either Watkins Garnacho Jackson, or hopefully we just see someone come in and give us a big 60 million plus bid for Garnacho. Because if Alanga's 55 million and Madueke's 55 million and Gittins is 55 million, I want 60 million for Garnacho. I actually think that Garnacho would be very good at Chelsea. And I think that we want a minimum of 60 million for Garnacho from Chelsea. If Chelsea have valued Madueke at over 50 million, we better be getting 60 million from Chelsea for Garnacho. We better be, okay? I don't care if you don't like Garnacho. I don't care if you don't rate him, but he's worth more than Madueke. We cannot let Chelsea play that. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up the stream here. I'm just going to see if anyone's live to redirect to. I don't think anyone will be live because it's like 3 o'clock. But yes, thank you for watching. I will be back later. Bye.